Bitch, um I just exited a conversation. I'm at home right now, but I don't know why I'm giving you angles. But uh so I was, chilling on Tumblr, listening to music, doing my thing, and this guy rings my doorbell and I go and I answer it, expecting just another, salesman. Some people have been selling, magazine subscriptions or food delivery services, shit like that. But I'm pretty sure he was a part of like a cult, which was cool. I mean, I don't want to use cult in like a disparaging sort of way, but he was a part of some sort of sect that I think is like related to Buddhism, but not quite anything remotely mainstream Buddhist. And basically, he asked me to like say one sentence that I think involved like devoting my life to some sort of deity. And he kept speaking really, really quickly, right? So I couldn't really understand everything he was saying. He had some papers, and he's like, "Oh, can you read this?" And it looked like a newspaper, like a legit newspaper, but it wasn't. But I asked, I was like, "Oh, is that a newspaper?" He's like, "Yes, it is. This is a very important newspaper. Have you not heard of this?" And then um, he hands it to me, and I can't read the kanji, and like he's just speaking so fast, um, in Japanese, of course. And so I was just like, okay, well, this sounds really great, but I don't want to waste your time. Like, I don't think I can just be interested in this sort of thing. I don't really understand what's going on. And he's just like, you don't have to understand what's going on if you just say this one thing. And like, then I got really creepy vibes, right? And that's when I started thinking, like, I started opening my mind up to listening to my ancestors. And I feel like my ancestors were just like, nigga, like, no. And yeah, so I was just like, oh, that's fine. Thank you. If you have a pamphlet, I'll take that. But, bitch, and, I would burn that in next to some fucking sage and then throw that shit away. But he didn't have a pamphlet. He's just like, you just have to say this one thing. And if you say it, your life will be better. Your life will get better. And I'm like, well, my life is pretty good right now. And he's just like, no, like if you have cancer, if you have any sort of sickness, if you have any sort of mental illness that you're suffering from, if your loved ones do, if your wife is sick, if your grandmother is sick, and he just kept going on and on. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. Dead ass lie. There's plenty of people that are sick in my life, but like I just don't have time for it. And so he kept on. He's like, well, like what's your job? And I said, I teach English. And he's like, well, if you care about your students, you don't know what's going on in their lives. And I'm like, well, they've been pretty good lately. Like today was a really good day at work. And he's just like, well, how do you know? He basically said, like, how do you know what's going on in your student's life? And then he started making this punching motion, and he was just like, there's so much abuse that happens with children that isn't talked about at school. And if you say this, like, you can help free them from abuse, which was really fucked up. It's a fucked up thing to say. But he was saying I could end their abuse by devoting myself to this cult because devotees are basically like these centers or like beacons of positive energy and change. And so he said, like, I could stop abuse, I could stop whatever my students' parents are going through, my students' test scores would go up, and he just kept going on. And that's when I got really creeped out. And so I already felt like I shared too much of my life with this nigga, and I'm part of me feels like I'm gonna, leave my home late at night to get a midnight snack, which I normally do a couple times a week, and someone's gonna like jump out of the shadows and capture me, and I'm gonna wake up in some like I don't know cave somewhere in Kamakura. But yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I just felt like making a video, and that was a really creepy moment. It literally just ended, and I just grabbed my phone and turned on the camera. But um, yeah, I'm not completely opposed to, you know, religious and spiritual movements and shit, but it was very much like an infomercial packaged in spirituality, I guess. And I was like, yo, like, I don't even understand what the statement fully means, so I'm not going to say anything. And he's just like, it's okay if it's okay. You don't have to understand. If you just say it, positive change will happen in your life. And I'm just like, that's fine. Like, there's other ways to affect change. Um, so, I'm going to light up some incense and I don't want to say pray about it, but I'm going to think on this. But I don't know. I felt like even by having my door open to someone who's talking that way, I was like, I don't know. Like, I think some very old school Christian vibes kind of seeped back into my mind, which is weird because I wasn't raised Christian. But I was just like, this person is clearly an emissary of the devil who's trying to get me to pray to false gods. And I will not speak this devil tongue. I will not, because that is just opening the portal to all kinds of bullshit. So yeah, I'm gonna burn some. As I said, I'm gonna burn some white sage. I'm gonna burn some incense, and um, I'm gonna get back on Tumblr. That's what I'm gonna do. I hope everyone's having a great Monday.